In Willowbell, there was a little lane where porches seemed to have personalities of their own. Some wore striped cushions and looked ready for afternoon tea. Some were full of herb pots and twine, as if they expected to repair something helpful at any moment. Some had sleepy rocking chairs that only woke up when the evening breeze passed through town. At the end of that lane stood a narrow blue cottage with 3 empty window boxes beneath its front windows. Rowan the fox noticed those empty boxes every time he walked by. Rowan was the sort of fox who paid attention to small unfinished things. He painted signs straighter than anyone else in Willowbell. He tied parcels with corners so neat that Mrs. Maple once said even the ribbon looked reassured. And whenever he passed a porch that seemed lonely, he could not help imagining what color of flowers or lanterns might make it feel more like itself. That morning he was carrying a tray of freshly painted wooden letters that spelled welcome home in soft cream paint with tiny green vines curling around the edges. He had stayed up late to finish them, not because anyone had hired him, not because there was a festival, but because Junie the hedgehog had mentioned, in the careful hopeful voice she used when something mattered very much, that her cousin was arriving that evening. Her name is Clover. Junie had told him the day before while choosing seed packets outside the market green. She draws little garden maps and labels for tea jars. She is very kind. She is also very shy. She and her mother had to move from their old town after the bookshop there closed, and I think she is trying to be brave without making a fuss about it. Junie had looked toward the blue cottage when she said this. Mrs. Maple found them a place to stay beside Clover Lane. She added, I thought I would make the porch cheerful before they arrive. Window boxes, a hand-painted sign, maybe moonflowers for the evening and marigolds for morning. Something that says you are safe here without shouting it. Rowan had nodded as if that were the most sensible idea in the world. Secretly, he thought it was one of the nicest ideas he had ever heard. So before sunrise he painted the sign himself. He was halfway down the lane now, balancing the letters carefully against his shoulder, when Milo the puppy came trotting around the corner with Luna the kitten, Hazel the bunny, and Pip the duckling close behind. Milo saw the sign first and skidded to a stop in a shower of tiny leaves. Rowan, he said, that is either a sign for a very fancy cottage or the beginning of a heartwarming mission. Hopefully both. Rowan said. Pip stretched his neck to read the cream letters. Welcome home, he whispered. Oh, that is lovely. It almost needs ribbon just from reading it. Hazel adjusted the pencils tucked behind one ear. This is for Junie's cousin, isn't it? Rowan nodded. She arrives tonight. Junie wanted the porch to feel cheerful. I thought I could help before market opened. Luna's whiskers lifted with approval. That sounds like a very Willowbell idea. Together they turned toward the cottage. At first, from a distance, everything seemed ordinary. The porch lamp was still glowing softly against the pale blue morning. A watering can sat beside the steps. 2 little gardening gloves had been left on the railing to dry. But when they came closer, Rowan stopped so suddenly that the wooden letters tapped against each other. The window boxes were on the ground, not shattered, not ruined, but tipped sideways in the damp grass, their soil spilled in dark little hills. Several marigolds had rolled free of their roots and lay in a crooked line beside the porch step. The string of paper stars Junie had clipped along the rail had torn in the night wind and wrapped itself around a lavender bush. One shutter hung slightly open. The whole porch had the tired, surprised look of something that had tried very hard to stay cheerful through a rough night. Junie was kneeling on the porch boards with a dustpan in one paw and a packet of moonflower seeds tucked beneath the other. When she looked up and saw them, her eyes widened. Then, even before she stood, Rowan could tell she was about to apologize. I know, Junie said quickly. It looked so much nicer yesterday. The wind started after midnight. I came out with a lantern twice, but every time I fixed one flower box, something else leaned over. I thought if I woke up early enough I could put it all right before anyone saw. Milo set his paw gently on the lowest porch step. Well, he said, the important thing is that everyone who saw it came preloaded with friendliness. Junie laughed a little, but it was the tired kind of laugh that sounded more grateful than amused. Rowan laid the sign on the railing with great care. You don't have to make the whole welcome alone, he said. Junie looked at the letters, then at the spilled soil, then back at the letters again. I wanted Clover's first sight of Willowbell to feel warm, she admitted. Not perfect, just warm. She has had too many hard goodbyes this year. I didn't want her first porch here to look as if the town forgot to be ready for her. Luna stepped onto the porch beside her. A town like Willowbell can recover from one windy night. Hazel had already opened her notebook. On the top of a blank page she wrote, Welcome window garden plan. Pip lifted one marigold very gently in both wings. These are still trying, he announced. That means we should also keep trying. Rowan looked from the fallen boxes to the shutter to the narrow blue cottage window catching the first peach-colored light of morning. Then he had an idea so quickly that it almost felt as if the porch itself had whispered it to him. Maybe, he said slowly, the welcome should not depend on the porch at all. Junie blinked. What do you mean? What if we build the garden so it can move? Rowan asked. A welcome window that can travel from the greenhouse to the porch to the lane if it needs to. Something on wheels. Flower boxes, ribbons, little painted notes, and the sign above it all. Then even if one part tips over, the welcome itself stays together. Pip gasped so softly that even the marigold seemed to listen. A rolling window garden, he said. Hazel underlined the phrase twice. Milo's tail thumped the step. Yes, absolutely yes. Mobility solves everything except maybe soup, and even soup sometimes. Junie pressed one paw to her chest. Do you really think we could make one before evening? Rowan looked at the empty boxes again, then at the cart shed behind the bookshop lane, then at the wooden letters he had painted in the dawn. I think, he said, we already have the beginning. So they started where all good Willowbell projects started, by making the problem smaller and the company larger. Hazel divided the morning into neat practical sections. Rescue the flowers, build the frame, Gather welcome touches. Leave room for tea. She said tea was not a delay but a structural requirement for kindness projects. No one argued. Milo carried the loose window boxes one at a time to Junie's work table, walking with such exaggerated care that Pip followed behind in case encouragement was needed. Pip, meanwhile, retied the torn paper stars into shorter loops so they would flutter rather than tangle. Luna gathered the moonflower seed packets and sorted them into dry and damp stacks on a folded towel. Junie replanted the marigolds in temporary clay pots, whispering apologies to each one until Rowan gently told her that flowers could hear love without a formal speech. Then Rowan and Hazel went in search of wheels. Behind Mrs. Maple's bookshop they found an old serving cart with a sturdy wooden base and one wobbly handle. Mrs. Maple said it used to carry tea trays during story nights before a squirrel child accidentally filled it with pebbles and declared it a mountain train. If it is being rescued into a more dignified second career, she said, adjusting her green scarf, you may absolutely borrow it. Nora the raccoon arrived just in time to hear the word rescued. Borrow it, she said. No, we improve it first. That was how the project grew from a simple repair into a real Willowbell undertaking. Nora tightened the cart wheels and added 2 wooden side rails so flower pots would not slide. Mrs. Maple contributed folded quilt squares to line the shelves. Tilly the field mouse brought a tin of little brass clips shaped like leaves. The bakery fox from across the square offered 2 small jars for porch candles and pretended not to care very much whether anyone noticed his generosity. By late morning the cart no longer looked forgotten. It looked promising. Rowan painted the frame a soft mossy green. Junie lettered tiny plant labels in her neat rounded handwriting. Moonflower, marigold, mint, lemon thyme, night jasmine. Luna brushed a pale cream stripe along the edge so the whole cart echoed the welcome sign. Pip tied blue ribbon bows at the corners because, in his professional opinion, wheeled kindness deserved visible ceremony. Still, around noon, Junie sat back on the greenhouse step and looked worried again. Rowan noticed at once. What's wrong? He asked. Junie twisted one empty seed packet between her paws. What if Clover sees all this and feels as though everyone expected her to arrive cheerful? What if she is tired? What if a welcome that is too bright feels heavy instead of helpful? It was such a Junie question that nobody answered too quickly. At last Luna sat beside her. Then the welcome should make room for quiet, she said. Hazel nodded. No crowding, no speeches, no parade, unless specifically requested. Milo lowered himself onto the warm stone path with a thoughtful huff. Maybe the message should not be hello, perform happiness now. Maybe it should be hello, rest first. We already saved you a place. Rowan looked at the painted sign. The words welcome home were lovely, but now they felt slightly incomplete. So he painted one more little board beneath them. Take your time, it said. When Junie read it, her eye softened at once. That's it, she whispered. That's exactly it. In the afternoon they rolled the finished cart to the blue cottage and parked it beneath the front windows where the broken boxes had been. It fit so perfectly there that it seemed the cottage had been waiting for it all along. The lower shelf held marigolds, mint, and a jar of lemon thyme. The top shelf held moonflower vines, 2 tiny candle jars, and the cream sign overhead. Paper stars hung from the side rails. The little board that read take your time rested at eye level beside the front step. Nothing about it felt loud. It simply looked ready. Ready for a tired traveler. Ready for an evening porch light. Ready for someone to breathe easier the moment they saw it. Junie stood very still when the last ribbon was tied. It feels like a friendly window, she said. Good, Rowan said quietly. That was the idea. There was only one thing left to do. Wait. And in Willowbell, waiting kindly was its own sort of work. Mrs. Maple sent over a tray of tea and honey biscuits so nobody would pretend not to need a break. Nora straightened the shutters. Hazel checked the angle of the cart twice and then a third time for emotional closure. Pip practiced how he might say welcome without sounding like a trumpet. Milo tried sitting still on the porch rug and managed almost an entire minute before remembering to wag. As the sky softened toward evening, a small carriage from the station road finally turned onto Clover Lane. Junie's paws flew to her mouth. The carriage rolled to a stop beside the gate. First stepped out a tired but smiling hedgehog mother carrying a stack of sketchbooks tied with string. Then, slowly, carefully, with the expression of someone trying not to take up too much room in a brand new place, Clover climbed down behind her. She was smaller than Rowan had expected, with a soft green satchel across one shoulder and a paper-wrapped bundle of pencils held close against her coat. She looked at the cottage first, then at the lit porch lamp, then at the rolling garden beneath the window. She stopped moving. For one quiet second, no one said anything. The moonflowers had not opened yet, but the marigolds glowed in the evening light, and the tiny candle jars were already catching gold from the porch lamp. Clover read the first sign, welcome home, then the second, take your time. Her shoulders, which had been lifted in that careful traveling way, lowered all at once. Oh, she said. It was a very small word, but it carried so much relief that Junie stepped forward immediately, not in a rush, just in love. I made some of it, Junie said, and then the wind undid a few plans, and then everyone helped, and Rowan painted the signs, and the flowers were meant to say there is no hurry. Clover looked at the cart, at Junie, and then at the rest of them gathered politely back from the steps. No one has ever welcomed my tiredness before, she said softly. Rowan felt that sentence settle into the evening like the first star. Mrs. Maple dabbed at one eye with her scarf when she thought no one noticed. Nora absolutely noticed but was too kind to mention it. Milo offered the basket of honey biscuits with both paws. Pip gave a short bow. Luna moved a rocking chair into the best porch spot without a sound. Hazel held out a clean little notebook page that said cottage notes in case Clover wanted to write down anything she needed once she had rested. Clover laughed then, a quiet bright laugh like a lantern being lit behind paper. I think, she said, I would like to sit first, and then I would like to remember all of your names forever. So that was what they did. They sat on the porch while evening gathered around the lane in soft blue layers. Clover's mother drank tea with Mrs. Maple. Junie pointed out the moonflower pots and promised they would open after dark. Rowan helped place the welcome sign where it could be seen from the rocking chair. Pip tucked one final ribbon curl beneath the smallest flower jar. Milo described Willowbell in such enthusiastic detail that Hazel had to pause him twice for breathing reasons. When the first moonflower finally opened, white against the dusky blue cottage, Clover made the same little sound of wonder that Junie always made around new blossoms. It feels, she said, searching for the right words, as if the town left a light on for me before it even knew me well. Junie took her paw. That is because it plans to know you well, she said. The rolling window garden stayed at the cottage for 3 days. After that, Clover insisted it should not belong only to her porch. Someone else will need this feeling someday, she said. So Rowan added one more painted board to the card. The welcome window, it read. And from then on, whenever a new neighbor arrived, or someone came home after a hard week, or a porch looked lonelier than it ought to, the cart would roll out again beneath the Willowbell trees. Sometimes it carried marigolds, sometimes herbs, sometimes notes clipped to brass leaves. Once, memorably, it carried 3 strawberry plants and a loaf of raisin bread, but it always carried the same promise. Welcome home. Take your time. You do not have to arrive cheerful to be loved here.